Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another hour of Vladik Brainbag's Inharmonious Memorandum, the only show that piles your bones for pencils on the dotard. Joining us for tonight and this afternoon's episode is skeleton arrangement, fleshy outgrowth, and professional vinyl bronzer Wilfred Bilfred. Thank you for joining us here tonight and this afternoon, Wilfred.
Thank you very much for having me, Vladik. My 5 senses are a tingle, to be sure.
That's good to hear that you don't value proprioception. And please call me Mr. Brainbad.
You got it, Double B. But you misunderstand me. I did not forget proprioception. I count it as one of the 5 instead of smell.
Fascinating, Bill, Fred. You were saying just before break that you have a ham harmonica, but it has started to get squinchy. Could you define squinchy in concrete descriptions that paint a vivid picture in stucco, or I will vomit out a box full of hamsters on live Tweevalowee?
That escalated quickly, BB. I would just like to say that squinchy, in this sense, means I didn't expect you to turn D-bag on me and share on live TV, dead TV, all over the airwaves, the water valleys, all over the wooded earth where worms make their living in the loam.
You dare to test me in a battle of wills, peasant? I will defeat you with my glaring gaze alone.
My brethren, fangs breathing, claw out mine eyeball and hosen, like really big biker battles all bottled up and wadded up, and my cotton baffle is topped off with... I'm sorry, you going to talk? Wave, little brain bad. Cat got your rotting mouth stuffed shut with claws or what?
Sir, I am considering my next words very carefully. I am considering my next actions with even more care and consideration. And I am about to kill you in a carefully considered fashion while I yell truly thought out mean things at you and to you and about you and for your ears only for you.
Sicko. You're basically trying to crawl up my cloaca, and that's like a hamper bandstand. I didn't see a lot of different effects or solar flares, but I had classified each random instance of halibut into my frozen fish file, but my Southwest business associate forgot to pay the freezer column and the whole file thawed. It is disturbing to see how inhabitable my oceanic rifts can be in the dead of the night, in the dark, still of the oven's womb, when the tendrils stretch outward and downward.
See, this is why I was expecting you to get gunked and mushed up, and that's what's still up. But I have to say, what you mentioned just now about a freeze column. You actually have a business associate.
Well, I should emphasize the word gloaming, but had a business partner is partly more accurate, probably.
Only probably?
Probably partly, but could be less so.
Not making any promises, I see. But this partner, what happened to his face?
How did you know I tore his face off? I mean, what do you mean? As far as I know, his face was fine.
Then you didn't see the recent Now Young Times repartee stating that his face was full, flushed off the man, chopped, chomped, bonked, they crot rit, roffermund.
I remember now. You're talking about the kid I killed the other day. Cut the guy's face off.
Kid? Why did you go into business with a kid?
I say kid, but really what he was a bundle of fish livers saved for over 16 years in a 100-gallon plastic tub and heated at 23 degrees Kelvin until it couldn't move hardly at all. With giant googly eyes, like hot glue gun to the outside of the bin.
Oh, that's way less weird.
Would you rather I murdered an actual kid?
Probably not. But I refuse to speculate on a hypothetical.
You only speculate on non-hypotheticals.
Precisely. I stuck myself in an octagon the other night, incidentally.
Did it hurt?
The octagon seemed fine.
No, I mean, did you get hurt?
Not until I stuck myself into the octagon, no.
Sheesh. Not many live to tell the tale.
What do you mean?
Well, I heard those who enter the octagon, they frequently perish.
You're thinking of a heptagon, you simpleton dweeb.
Oh, good lord. So it famous is.
Absolutely.
Did you get a mailer the other day? Like a junk mailer for owl reduction ligand and discovery tax levy from the city?
I did, as a matter of fact.
What did you think? Does it seem like a reasonable proposal to you?
On advice of my lawyer, I must crap my pants quickly but thoroughly before answering this question.
Take your time.
Why don't you just answer it instead?
Thanks, Frederick. Okay, so yeah. I think it's a good, bad, and adequate idea that needs to be stopped, implemented, expanded, and repealed.
I think I'm right there with you for a length of time, and I think the same thing and the opposite. Pretty much on everything and nothing.
Yep, in the VAT bin? You think that's going to show the municipal cost reductions that harm sandwich shops up and down the Derbyshire Boulevard that we were promised by key makers and sock darters when they first passed these controversial new, old, inadequate, and thoroughly modern ordinances?
Ordinances, brother.
Oh, I am sorry. I have to shatter my ninja hijinks quickly, or I will be imprisoned within a well of volume-measuring sadist wannabes. Do they craft wild racetracks, do you think?
I think they try to build up enough residue to have their racetracks declared wild, if you'll follow. You're not a novel spanner if you don't think enough twists to really spatter the canvas with antacids and mattress billboard salesman, account servicer, wheel patterns marked with each protein's folding antiproton unknown to modern man. You can't mean that, surely.
Aha! There it is.
What?
That little current. I can mean it by finding the mode, my bud.
Of what, like math?
That's what I'm saying, but it hurts my butt.
Good to know. So, what can we expect next in the ever-changing shards of bricklayer and the ever-converging sense of desiccated well sparrows?
What on earth are you trying to say?
I hate it when you get gritty with me. Souffle ravine, that's what I'm trying to say. Epistemological defenestration amaretto spaghettis, eh?
Not the bacterial infection I expected to be pressure sprayed up my butt when I woke up today, to be sure.
That's not what the fecal analyses run here on site by a reputable deputy dared to make plain.
Crickies.
That basically sums it up, doesn't it? We had too much poo in those days.
The cranial cavities didn't respond to fluorine, did they?
They did. They started doing the Bartman in the street while they vomited up naked pants for sale.
Oh man, you don't see that every day.
Certainly not. So, Maddies and Lentil again, we are about to take our first uninterrupted non-break to not show ads. So this is the time I tell you that you are watching Vladic Brainbad's Inharmonious Memorandum. I, Sir Vladric Lord Brainbad, am your host, and I am joined with Crucible Salesman, Insalubrious Dithyram, and all-around 360-degree shape Wilfred Bilfred, who insists on being called Crumpy Bumpy Butt Bubbles Boy.
I'm afraid I'm going to have to stop you, back you up, spin you around, and start you back up again there, Vladdy Vlad. I've never been called that before in my life. In my life. And I have most certainly never demanded to be called that. It makes me fume, frankly.
Well, I've heard that can cause the lung desiccation that creeps on you like the creeping crud and turns your pink lung flesh to crickets. That's what I've heard anyway. But you are a little butt bubbles boy though, wouldn't you say?
Those are fighting phonemes, brother. And think yourself not above a serious booty slaying in the form of a hulking boot crushing you into dirt powder with little gut bits sticking out at oblique angles like glistening biological leeches. You really have gravity as a wave display, right?
No, we lost that when we upgraded to Boyle Panel Micro LTC front lighting. Has a deeper contrast ratio, but it has a protest contest filled with rats, and we never bothered to check for the inventor records, and so nothing was really adequate to task.
Nothing fit to purpose at hand?
Precisely, as it were. I keep kneading it into tiny breaded baskets of weed curd and thresh pooling, but the dreadful embankment refused to abstain, whatever our pleading.
How did the homing rig farm for you at first?
Oh, at first it worked a right treat, but you know what they say about those things.
No, I am only familiar with hagiography with regards to the homing rig's farming capabilities.
That's funny. Well, anyone who isn't name-dropping for clout but actually has an interest in auto-farming flush would be honest about the unit's true capabilities. They're not super, I'll tell you that.
It makes for fascinating water cooler talk in the locker room, I'll bet.
I'll bet. You know, you're not all bad for a horrible evil person that shouldn't be.
And I have to say, despite you not having done anything all that morally dubious, I think you're an absolute brat of a dipstick and severely dislike nearly everything about you.
How do you think that makes me feel?
How do you think not caring in the slightest bit makes me feel?
Pretty powerful. Like you are so far above the fray that I am absolutely insignificant in comparison.
Goddamn right, old chap. And what about the cut of your rug? Lengthwise or broad fleet?
Oh, I take the first half broad, and the rest I arrange via length, creating a multi-dimensional array that can be crossed diagonally at any 2 points and still arrive at the same value.
What a frightful waste of resources and chickenpox candles.
I'm sorry, pox candles.
Made for chickens, you understand?
That explains at least none of it.
What do you expect out of an interview? That it should be, to you, some sort of encyclopedia entry?
Not at all. I repeatedly enjoy the intricacies of outerwear and interconversation made bare by the Ursine Lord.
Oh, would that you didn't even make reference to this being.
What being?
The Lord of all bears.
Ah, you just said his name.
Crickies. Now he will haunt me and hate me for all time and dismember me endlessly for all of mine days.
Precisely.
I didn't used to squelch this way, but and my god-nephew Francine Ball of Troutman stole my gooseberries. Without it, I'm rather squeaky.
And has this been a help or a hindrance to you in your line of work?
A help.
And in your way of work?
Nothing but a painful reminder of my mortal human frailty.
That's right, bugger.
Sort of like your dad, eh?
Fine. Stop now.
I am sorry. Sometimes I grow too far.
I see. Not a shower, are we?
I'm not a shower. I'm a teller.
But do you bone? It sort of doesn't much sound like it.
Like you would know what it sounds like, you prude.
Am not.
You really rather sort of are.
How would you know?
You've turned down every sexual advance and penile retreat I've sent towards or away from you, for one.
Typical. I don't want to bang you, so I must be a virginal dowager. Typical petty crabwalk ashtray lemonade stand from one of the OG originals. What a waste of protein.
That was originally the reason I turned you down. I didn't want you to waste any protein. But as we talked, I realized you were a grasping, maniacal narcissist.
I had no idea you were a genius inventor.
An inventor?
Sorry, I meant accredited brain scientist.
You sound stupider by the minute, and I begin to wonder if you are filled up to the brim with drink.
I have put away a few pints, true, but I only become more intelligent with time.
I have found that my pronate grasp isn't an effective pre-flight adaptation.
Oh, for sure.
It just sort of drives me crazy and the countryside in equal measure.
If they're equal, you only need to measure one.
Great point.
I hate to dismember you out of spite, but it is time for our next transmission from our corporate benefactors.
I thought you didn't do that on this show?
We didn't, but I need to hire an arsenal of legal counsel after all the BS you said about produce displacement theory. My producer handed me a frozen waffle with the dread note, "You're going to be repealed by the 89th Amendment." I have no choice.
You do, you brainy Betty Bad. My duper-boo.
God, I get so soft when you say things like that. Okay, up first is our prime corporate benefactor. Droning noises that have coughs buried in them somewhere deep down that scare you in the middle of the night. That's right. For dropping panic poopies in the sheets at 4 a.m., nothing can beat scary drone noises that you can swear sounds like it's saying something. Find them at your local domicile.
You really just read it out like that? Like it's the 1920s? Colgate Dramedy Bower?
You're a total derp. Didn't you hear me just say this is an emergency funding stream to cope with your sexual harassment lawsuit costs?
Hey, Sir Lord Brain Badlington. You and I both know I never sexually harassed you. Not even once.
I know, and I'm going to continue to subject you to legal bruisings until you do harass me. I'll give you no choice.
I can never tell if you're just acting out a one-man show in your mind, or if you really mean the things you say.
Oh, believe me, the man show in my mind has way more than one. But onto and back off of our newest sponsor, Cradled Egg Mitten Claw Stencils. Only from Galdy Frawn and never from Greeble's home of Stencil Claw Mendacity Quarry and Associates. Why just sort of hold an egg bare hand when you can draw little mitten claws onto it with a stencil that keeps your egg in a manger of sorts while you go about your day? You can oat yourself to health, but who's gonna file that police report? Murphy Spanders? I'm not even sure that's a real person. Better leave it to the professionals, folks. Better leave it to Goldie Frawn's cradled egg mitten claw stencils, because that's what that sponsor wanted me to say.
Really selling it, baby. His brain's so bad, you don't think great with it, eh?
Oh, stop pestering me with your quarrelsome banter.
I thought this was an interview.
Are you on hallucinogens right now, or what?
Of course, but this is an interview, right?
Absolutely. So when did you realise you kept killing neighbourhood kite salesmen?
Oh, around 4 or 5. Didn't really get great at it till around 8 years old. But the drive was there as far back as I can remember.
What you describe is absolutely astonishing.
Why, thank you.
No, I mean it. When other kids were learning their ABCs, you were always blow-up kite salesies.
No, not always. Sometimes I imploded them.
Always an especially zestful option.
Keep in mind, when I'm saying quote salesman and women, I mean mulch.
Right, of course. I forgot how the viewers smelling this back home might not know what we mean.
Good heavens, imagine the mail and calls and email and walk-ins we'd get for that.
It makes my butt crack itch just to think of it.
You strike me as a man who knows how to paint a picture with words.
I'm going to strike you as a man with a giant plank with nails through it if you don't get on with it.
With what?
Primming your finger hair and loading up the review part of the show.
Oh yes, it's always a superlative brachiating nostril shrimp, which is really rather carnivorous. Let's try.
Radles and cradles, it's Druid Day and we're going to look at Toip Filmies. Taupe Mayu 6, Top Televes. We're going to research deep and critique the zeitgeist of our Mother Earth's cultural milieu without resort to long pox or shadow gull crawlers. We will get in the dirty of it with nary a gust of hot air. Just hard-hitting, factual opinion. Up first, Wilfred Bilfred gives us his impression of Scowdy Hort 4, Board Boar.
Thanks for that introduction there, bell beavering bully of the 17 Sneeze. Hartzell Farrell's 15 full-length picture, Scowdy Hort 4, continues this remarkable director's disturbing trends of putting out not films but very long photographs. 7 dead lunch grenades out of 42, no scars out.
Pricelessly valueless. Screen 2 is Vector Formageddon, a loose bundle of papers left on the New Haim Times Review, second Bounticade. It seems to foment a vast nuclear atomic center. Stylish and full of rotten flanks, this crass attempt at bundling got its agency cut down to a 3-star rating and kicked out of their posh upper stairs downwell burden easing. It hurts to say it, but I think we'll be stuck in this metal pipe for quite some time to come.
I'll round out this spate of reviews.
Oh, I like that. Spate.
Yes, I thought you might. I'll round out this splatty spate of reviews with an honest reckoning with prehistoric rabidity. More is known about rabies in the ancient times than was previously suspected.
How could they have inaccurately suspected how much was known about prehistoric rabies?
Please, I'm doing a thing here, it just...
Sorry.
No, not at all. I just have such a hard time getting back in the...
You were saying something about spate.
Right, well, I received a sparrow with a singing kitogram nailed into the webbing of its feet.
Sparrow with webbed footing. Are you sincerely serious about this? Some ornithologist.
I'm not an ornithropologist, but you are really ticking me off. What's that one with the flat wings that has webs on its feet?
A duck.
Not that kind of web, you crundleman.
Oh, my apologies.
I'll bet. No, the like stuff a spider shoots out.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't think you did. You freaking clod. But that didn't stop you from butting in and mucking about.
Again, humblest apologies.
Get on the floor and beg, and I'll think maybe it's humblest Jesus Crow.
Getting pretty violent, eh? Wilfred Bill Fred, ladies and gentlemen, Undermanians. It's swell gigwovets, your only yurt in a storm.
You need a lozenge, or just happy to pee-pee?
Lozenge, nozzle. Who can keep these things straight in one's mind?
Whom, rather?
Who can keep these things straight in whom's mind?
Fie. And fie. I find much irritation at the core of every verbal apple of yours I've bitten into.
I can't keep track which one of us is trying to harass the other.
Do you think that might be because, because you feel it, too?
Feel it? Like...
That's exactly what I mean.
Zip back up, bud. I'm not into that.
What, dudes as peensies?
No, not that. Not into auditory exhibitionism.
Oh, fair enough.
Frail enough, too.
How so?
Because you have a rail yard in your bone thresher.
Excuse me, what?
I am saying that inside your personal bone thresher, back at your home on the East Coast, continuates within it a tiny rail yard.
I don't even live on the Geist Coast.
Not Geist Coast, East Coast.
What's that?
You really? Our researcher was adamant that you...
Not at all, brethren. I am a ladle of the cloth and would never live in a coastal environment.
That brings me tremendous shame.
This might bring you tremendous shame, but only you can send that self-same shame away.
I think this is a breakthrough. Can you help me reinforce this crumbling tunnel?
As at no other time, my friend. Do you really suspect an incursion?
Yeah. The intel suggests we're all dying of a toxic gas introduced into the water vents and air pipes 3 minutes ago.
Is it really intel if it is a contradictor indicated by the current factual hyperspace?
What are you getting at?
It's just that surface to surface to surface, missile strikes and muzzle strokes are like enough to chop the baddies and chop them up and down. Can you live with yourself without that muslin mozzarella?
Do you span one horse friend to another? I mean, obviously, just theoretically.
Oh no, I definitively span these horse friend. I have done so, in fact, in daily waking life, as it were.
How were it then, eh?
It was divided as 5, and each clicked into 1, and 5 and 6.
Is that really the only way you can relate that experience? Pounding hammer nails? Just numbers on a grid?
Seriously, though. Is there things that aren't that it could possibly even be?
I'm sorry, be what?
What you just said. Numeric grid representations. It's kind of a mathematical obscenity, the language you just blurted about misrepresenting digits.
Digitellers, digital widow shins clanking in the boiler room below. I didn't think you were that sort of creature. but I've been wrong before.
You do speak in portentous sloganeering and handle it? Or do you send an assistant to defrock each muttering monk in your own image?
Yes, that second one. Because once you pound it flat into the ground, we have lots of different spandrel plankton buffet drink tickets, and that kept coming back to me that night at the Rio de Jean Moutard, because French dip is only as sensible as its thigh-length tails, and halter-top boot blackeners permit it to be.
Oh, absolutely. I think I had been left over after Thanksgiving about a week before I started to grasp the truly absurdist plot that my ralphing all over those bleachers at that picnic solar flare that invisible day. So I partied, purdy-hardy, boo-ha.
It's nice you still send milkmen to your aunt, even when it's not the holiday times.
Window wiper Pete's is high, by the way.
You don't mean old Peter Halterness still totting around that Biscayne Bay?
No, he chopped his own head off with a trained poodle walker 12 minutes before you arrived.
I asked you to be my guest tonight.
He was going to be your guest, but then when the show came up, he self-capitated.
No, nothing like that. He has never been welcome on this show.
Oh, I see. You sounded as though you respected him.
Respect, sure. But I always hate the man because he was always threatening to remove his sculler's punishment when socially sanctioned.
That's not only deeply mature behaviour, but shows total lack of concern for the well-being of his victims.
Damn straight. Turned out, baking him in an oven didn't work because he could keep pushing the door open. It was Trimil Dorstveven who improved first the clear link between baking temperature and body ileal firestiness.
Do you dwell within a phytopunk rock corral reef that spins ester elements in my baker's box?
He never said he wouldn't kill you on air.
What does that mean?
I think we stopped worrying about that about 3 minutes back.
Please blacken my wingtips before you sauce on them.